They wanted VFX shot the next day, edit to be done within 24 hours. What it's really like to be a creative photographer a year behind the lens. We're gonna be going over some of my favorite projects from the last 12 months, working with brands such as Sony, Samsung, Adobe, Ford Mustang, and Bentley. I'm gonna be showing you guys behind the scenes, what gear we use, the team involved helping me on these projects, what the client's expectations were, crazy turnaround times, and a lot more. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Mike Quill, I am m.visuals. I'm a creative photographer based in London, but traveling the world for some amazing projects. Let's get into it. In January, I started the year off with my first ever photography workshop in Dubai with Oscar, the visual light. We had an amazing group of creators join us on the workshop. We did everything from business management right the way through to editing workshops. This was an amazing way to start the year, and it really set the tone for how things were going to progress over the next 12 months. Now, Bentley supported the cars for the workshop. They're one of my clients. I reached out to them, said we were running this workshop and we wanted part of it to be about car photography. We had 2 cars, a Bentayga and a Flying Spur, and obviously having those on the workshop made it next level. Some of the content is on the screen right now. They were all shot on the Sony a7 IV with a variety of different focal lengths, but that was the camera that I had out there. February and March we're gonna combine into one section here because they kind of overlap. There was a lot of travel, starting off with Singapore, then across to Bali, and Java. So Singapore was more of a passion project. I was out there with Luke at Watch Luke, along with his girlfriend Matilda and my girlfriend Simone, which is at Simone.shoots. We were shooting just some of the architecture out there. I think it's really important to do passion projects because if you know you have lots of work coming up later down the line, passion projects are what's going to fuel you to then do even better on those big jobs. I shot this trip on the Sony a7C II. It's the perfect camera to have whilst traveling if you want something small and compact. From Singapore, we went to Bali. Now, I always take 2 weeks there just to kind of reset, get inspired again, hang out with other creators. There's so many amazing creators in Bali and I always find it very, very relaxing and just a great place to be. From there, we went to Java. Now, for those of you that haven't been, this is an incredibly rugged and raw landscape. And I was doing a project for Canada Goose out there. It's very tropical, it's very hot, it's very rainy, and you cannot control the weather conditions at all. Now, we did get lucky, the conditions were good. I'm gonna put some of my favorite bits on the screen now, but we were shooting a campaign photo mainly for Canada Goose, but also a little bit of behind the scenes TikTok style videos for them as well. So there's just a lot of behind the scenes that they then chop together and use some of those clips for themselves for their own socials, especially on TikTok. This was my first time working for Canada Goose and it was with Andrea. They were one of his clients and he got me in to help him. So that was a really, really fun project to do and a great way to kind of start the year off whilst traveling when I was just thinking I was just gonna do passion projects. That came about. So it's not all smooth sailing, quite literally. After Java, we decided to go to the Komodo Islands. So we got there thinking we booked this beautiful boat, which we were gonna live on for 3 days, travel around and explore the island. So the video on the screen is us excited to be in Komodo before we saw the boat. And then when we saw it, you can see the before and the after is pretty nuts. So firstly, the photo of the bathroom, you can see the sink was falling off. There's a wet patch on the bed. The safety rubber rings, not safe at all. You would sink. If rain came in, there was a hole in the ceiling and there was so much more. We just couldn't sail. So we decided as a group, rather than being like, oh yeah, we're fine. We said, listen, this is not safe. There was also a storm coming in. So luckily we said no, because imagine if we were out there, a storm came in, I don't know if we'd have made it back. Honestly, it was pretty scary. So we went to a hotel and we decided to book flights back to Bali because Nyepi was coming and Nyepi is silent day. So we had to get back for that basically because we couldn't get stuck in Komodo where we didn't want to be. We all had villas in Bali, so we decided to go back. And in our villa, you'll see in this video, not only was it the 6 of us, we also had a friend who's a gecko. He basically lived rent-free in our villa. Simone was scared of him. But yeah, that was a good time. Now that was 6 weeks of travel. When we got back, the day after, I had my first job back in the UK shooting for Friction again. More on that later on, but I did want to mention that I literally landed, went straight to a show, very, very jet lagged, but we got it done. It was a lot of fun. Then we had the photography show where I did several talks for Sony. For those of you that don't know about the photography show, it's kind of a big conference slash trade show where all the camera brands come together. They have little stalls. You can go talk to brands. It's a great place to network if you're looking to work and build those relationships with camera brands. Everyone's there from DJI right the way through to Sony, everyone. I don't even know, there's so many in between. That's always one of my highlights and I really enjoy talking and having Q&As there. And it's very nice to have the support from Sony, obviously, and do that on their stand. Right after that, I did a shoot for MSI and NVIDIA. So that was a pretty crazy experience. That was done with Arthur. So the concept that I wanted for this was to kind of come out from the laptop as though I was editing, away from the laptop, on the go. It is a great laptop. And I was then moving through the streets of London. That was a really fun project to do and a great kind of first big project, starting off hot there at the end of March to finish the year off financially, but start the year off for me in April. Oh, also did a shoot for Bentley. Just see my notes here. So that was pretty mad. April, spring is here. And I went straight to Rome and Florence for my girlfriend's birthday to celebrate. I took a couple of weeks off. I did shoot out there a little bit, again, just for fun, just for my social media. And I came straight back for the Sony World Photography Awards. Now, these awards happen every year. You can enter if you want to. I entered last year. I sadly didn't win, but a good friend of mine, Liam Mann, did win. He was the winner for an amazing shot taken in Scotland at the Old Man of Storr. We'll have that on the screen somewhere with his Instagram handle. Incredibly talented, light painting with a drone, extreme weather conditions. He had snow, a moonrise. It's nuts. And when I saw that he had entered, I was like, this is definitely got to be the winner. I entered a surf shot, which I absolutely loved. It was taken on the Sony 600mm lens when we were in Cornwall for the previous year's Sony Kando trip. We'll have that on the screen as well. And congrats again to Liam. So stoked for him. It was such an amazing photo. Shortly after, there was the Adobe Summit. So I got to sit down with the team from Adobe that run Photoshop and then also help with Lightroom. It was amazing to have a direct conversation with them about everything from upcoming releases to AI. The day after was Adobe Max London. I was asked to do a short interview and part of that was then showcased on the opening video, which was awesome to see on the big screen and have constant support from a brand I've used from day one. Also in April, I had potentially my biggest project of the year, or at least I thought it would be. This was the launch of the Xperia 1 Mark VI phone. Yeah, an incredible project. We needed to do a lot of work here. We had a YouTube video, we had several reels, we had several carousel posts, we had behind the scenes. So there was a lot of moving parts. I had a really great team helping me out. Arthur helped me with the video, which was kind of a concept of making sure that the YouTube thumbnail, we pulled back and it had the time slice, along with other features, including like the bokeh, so how that uses the portrait mode and the macro mode, which actually was insane. One of my favorite shots of the year I actually took was of my girlfriend's eye right here with the reflection of St. Paul's. And that was all done with the Xperia 1 Mark VI. So really fun project. That then came out later on in the year. I then had a bunch of projects for Adobe. One of them being one of my favorites of the year. I got to take a helicopter around London. This is pretty mad. Again, Arthur helped me on this project. We were doing a video along with all the photos. So I had double cameras, A7 IV, A7R5, 16-35, 24-70. I love aerial photography and seeing London from above, it was mad. Like, blew my mind. We had a great sunset. The video turned out awesome. The photos turned out even better. And I couldn't have been happier with that project. And again, having the support with brands like Adobe, when they come to you and say, hey, we've got a project, and I kind of put my own twist on it and basically say, let's do that, but let's do it in a helicopter. So yeah, amazing experience. The turnaround time for this project was 2 weeks, so I had lots of time to edit. Oh, and then to finish off the month, I went to Madrid for the launch of a new car, the Formentor and Leon from Cupra. That was pretty mad. A lot of travel. It's exhausting at times, but a hell of a lot of fun. So we went out there, quickly did that and flew back the next day. And that was at the very end of April. So May was a month really focused on community. For those of you that don't know, I run a community called UK Shooters. We host photography events around the UK and also around the world with the Shooters community. If you haven't checked them out already, make sure you do at world.shooters and at uk.shooters for the UK community. We have a road trip we do every couple of years, and this year was Manchester, Edinburgh, Glasgow, and Kilturn Castle, which is kind of in the Highlands of Scotland. Now, community is very important for me, and I try and run at least 8 to 12 events a year. The road trip was an absolute highlight for me, and it was really fun to meet creators from different areas, not just London, where I'm based, but going to Manchester and seeing the community, meeting new faces, and seeing how excited everyone was amazing. We also had Bentley support with that. They gave us a Continental GT to shoot. So of course, being able to let the community shoot a Bentley was pretty mad. We had some incredible models that helped out. The road trip was sponsored by Sony and Adobe, who are two of my biggest clients. So it was really great to have the support from those brands to make it happen and bring people together. I was also in Portugal with Friction for one day, grabbing some sun, shooting a show. That was a lot of fun. Again, we're going to live music in the summer. So June started off with something quite fun for me. Some of you know, some of you don't know. I used to be a pro athlete. I used to play ice hockey, and my friend and old housemate, Ben Davies, had his testimonial. He'd done 10 years in Cardiff. I used to play for Cardiff as well. So I got to play in his testimonial, which basically happens when a player does 10 years for one club. They then throw a big party, really. They get a bunch of old players back, so it was so fun to see some of my old teammates, and that was just a bit of a highlight for me for June, really, because it was really nice to be back on the ice and just remember that part of my life, because spending 10 years being a pro athlete was such a big chunk of my life before I became a creator, so that was really fun to do. I also had quite a few events in June, one for Bentley, and I also did another talk for Wales and West, which is like the photography show, but in Wales. Before I went to Paris with Sony Music, that was really fun. We were in a studio, or a bunch of studios actually, a bunch of music artists, and I was creating some behind the scenes content there. Before the following day, I came back to the UK, I went straight to Glastonbury. If you're not thinking this is intense, and I ended up getting quite sick at Glastonbury, but I had to obviously shoot 3 shows. Yeah, it was a lot of fun, very tiring, long nights, and your turnaround times are often next morning. So, you know, you might not finish until 1 a.m., 2 a.m. You're having to get some sleep, offload, mark the ones you want to edit them, get them over to the DJ, hope he likes them. If he doesn't like them, you got to do re-edits. So yeah, it's a bit of a process, but an amazing, amazing experience.
And I also managed to catch Coldplay on the Pyramid stage.
So that brings us to July 1st and the Manchester United kit launch. So on the Sunday, I had to get a train up to Manchester, meet my manager, and we had a hotel outside of Manchester United Stadium at Old Trafford, which was amazing. So I had to be there at 8 a.m, 9 a.m, the shoot started, and I had to have everything over to them by midday to be approved to then post on my social media later on that day. Being shot on the phone made it, I guess, harder, but also easier in a way, because I didn't have as many shots as I may have taken if I had my camera. But it also meant it was harder because I had to get them off the phone, edited, back on the phone, and then posted on social media. So really, really fun project. Some of those will come on the screen now. Most of them were 1 to 2 images blended together. And my concept was to create movement, the buzz around Manchester United and football in general. There's always an incredible buzz wherever you go on a match day. So I wanted to capture that for the kit launch around Manchester. And yeah, I'm pretty happy with the shots. We then had several more community events in July and throughout the rest of the summer. But this is where I want to start talking to you guys about live music. So Tomorrowland is my favorite music festival in the world. Been 3 times now. And I was fortunate enough to go back this year with DJ Friction. Arthur also came with me, and we created a video for Sony. This was an amazing passion project. I pitched the project to them. I felt that live music wasn't really featured on the Sony website. And of course, having the 12mm, 24mm, that's like the perfect wide angle lens that I see so many videographers and photographers using at live music shows. So I wanted to showcase that. And what better music festival than Tomorrowland? So for Tomorrowland, I was not only creating content for Friction and getting his social assets done, videos, but also for obviously Sony. It was a lot going on. We had a really great script and kind of shot list in place. We didn't quite get it all, so we had to film something else in August. But overall, I was super happy with the music festival. We shot everything on the FX3. And the 24-70, 16-35 were the main lenses that we shot the video on. And I'm so happy I can pitch projects like that to Sony. August, music festivals and UK shooters, events. Yeah, tons of music festivals all around the UK. Again, everything shot on the Sony a7 IV, and all of this is just stills. And then any video that I do is just on a phone, because then it's a very quick transfer to them. Now, for anyone wanting to get into the music industry, lots of DJs and well, especially management ask you to do both. I held strong and just said, I'm only doing photos, but I'll do social content and phone content, that's fine. There's a few people I know that do both, but I do feel it's important to stay strong. So if you do video, just say you do video. If you do photo, just say you do photo, and focus on those mediums, because trying to do both, you have 1 hour set. I mean, trying to do both is just, yeah, impossible.
My live music turnarounds are normally 24 hours. So after the show, I'll mark them, edit them as quickly as I can, and send them over to the DJ.
September. Just blew my mind. So on the 1st of September, I flew to Cappadocia. So Cappadocia is an amazing place in Turkey, where they have the balloons that go up every sunrise. And this is a really, really fun project for VW, and specifically the Golf. So the Golf turned 50 years old, and what better way to celebrate than have all those balloons in the air, but also have a custom VW balloon from the first generation to the latest generation Golfs. And we got to shoot all of that. I was using the a7 IV. This was photo only, and with BTS shot on my phone. So very easy content for me there. Social content, a hell of a lot of fun. I love Cappadocia and I love cars. So the combination of the balloons, the landscape, the cars, What a shoot, really, really good fun. I then jumped on the flight to Madeira, which is where the Sony Kando trip was for this year. Sony Kando is where they bring a bunch of their creators and ambassadors together for an amazing couple of days of creativity. These are really, really inspiring to be around so many other creators that I look up to. Madeira is an amazing place to shoot. It's such a diverse landscape, from the fog forests, when you're literally in a cloud, to the viewpoints, to the coasts. Highly recommend going. So yeah, that was all shot on the Sony a7 IV. I actually got a little bit sick from the intense travel. I also lost, for the first time ever, my suitcase. So I had nothing with me. I don't know why, but recently when I've been traveling, I've had everything in my camera bag that I might need, might possibly need. So I had contact lenses in there, my glasses in there, one pair of underwear, one pair of socks, just in case anything was to happen. I feel it's very important to be prepared in case your suitcase does get lost. You have enough to be able to get by for a few days. And luckily I did. Other than that, Madeira, amazing place, group of friends, group of people, all shooting on Sony, amazing opportunity. So yeah, Sony Kando, 10 out of 10. What a way to start off September. Moving into October. Beginning of October, I have workshop 2. So believe it or not, Oscar and I started workshop 1. We had it in January in Dubai. Workshop 2, we did it in London. Again, we had the support from Bentley. They gave us a Bentayga. We had amazing models, all of the viewpoints you could possibly think of in London. We had everyone covered. What a lovely group of people, all on the same page, wanting to just shoot as much as possible. We're actually running our 3rd workshop in New York City in October 2025. So if you want to join us, message me on Instagram, m.visuals. We then had our biggest UK Shooters event of the year with the UK Shooters Sony Halloween event. We had over 250 photographers. We had over 20 models, and we had a ton of great lighting. You can see some highlights on the screen right now that the guys filmed. But yeah, amazing. And it's always great to see so many amazing photographers all in one space, creating together and having a good time. That then brings us on to Ford Mustang, one of my biggest projects of the year. I love shooting cars, and I've shot a lot of other cars in between all of this, but a lot of it was building up to the Ford Mustang experience. So it was autumn. I was given a Mustang GT. We took it up to the Peak District. It was just Arthur and I. We were shooting photo and video. The reel was kind of based on a challenge. So it was like a challenge of what I can shoot in a couple of days. I'm very happy with the results in the end, but it was obviously a little bit stressful. We then did a part 2 for that as well with light painting. Part 1 was long exposures. The photos I had to take for all autumn themed and then long exposures. Ford Mustang project gear. I used the a7R5 for all the photos, and then we used the Sony FX3 for all the video. Also, we used the DJI Osmo Pocket 3. Now this became one of my favorite cameras to use for cars because you can actually use a single suction mount, have a little arm, and you can get some incredible angles. We did a behind the scenes versus the shot, and we used it a lot for also rollers, which ended up being in the final video. So that was a key element to this project. November, we're gonna call it the Snapdragon month because I had 2 wicked projects with them. Firstly, Iceland. So I've been to Iceland the last 3 years in a row, so we thought we'd go again. I absolutely love it out there. I find it very relaxing, peaceful. It's a great place to create. And what better place to be creating with a smartphone? So we had the S24 Ultra and the Meta smart glasses. Now those were the 2 main things I was shooting on. I also have my Sony camera and I was shooting some stuff out there as well. But for the campaign itself, that was all shot on the Meta smart glasses, S24 Ultra. And yeah, it was a lot of fun to shoot out there. We also got to see a crazy volcano eruption at the very end of it as we're driving back to the airport. We had freezing cold conditions. We had incredible light. So a big highlight there. And with this one, again, it was a passion project. So for a lot of the brands, when they approach me, I have things that I have to do for them, but I always say I need to make sure I'm doing something for myself and for my audience that I'm going to enjoy. So again, I pitched the idea of going to Iceland. They love the idea. I love the idea. It keeps things inspirational, fresh, me excited, the brand excited. So again, if you don't do that to brands, I'd recommend doing it because they're going to want to get the most out of you, right? Right after that, we then had the Snapdragon workshop that I ran in Paris. So Paris is an amazing place for night photography. And I ran a photography workshop out there with Snapdragon where everyone got a phone and we were just going through phone photography tips and tricks. But again, a massive highlight of mine for that month. So I thought December was going to be a pretty relaxed month. It turned out to be the complete opposite. So it started off with the last UK Shooters event with Artlist. We hosted the Winter Warmer. We had some incredibly inspiring speakers, and it was a great way to finish off the community events with everyone just getting together, networking, hanging out, and hearing from some amazing people. I then had my first project with DJI. So I've been using DJI since 2016 when the first Mavic Pro came out. That was my first ever drone. And I'd always wanted to work with them, but I never reached out and I never heard from them. And then suddenly from nowhere, in November, they reached out and said, hey, we've got a project going live in December. Would you like to shoot it? Obviously said yes. It was for the DJI Air 3S and the Mini 4 Pro. Now, because this was my first ever project with DJI, I wanted to go big. So I decided to go to the Dolomites. This was 2 reels for my profile and theirs. So I need to make sure I got the right balance of kind of droney footage, but also of me using my ideas that work well on my page, but also using what might work well on their page. We booked flights 2 days before we flew out because we were waiting on the conditions. We had snow, it was perfect. I went with Arthur again, and he helps me on a lot of these projects because I know I can rely on him to just get it done. We shot list it, as I said, and because these projects are all having me involved, I'm droning, he needs to shoot me droning, I then need to shoot photos of the drone. It just kind of worked really well. So it's really important that the team you have around you, if you are shooting photos and video, that you get on well, you're on the same page. I'm super lucky to have him and Alex helping me on lots of these projects throughout the year. We also shot a YouTube video, which is either out now or it's out next week, depending on where this one slots in. And it was a hell of a lot of fun, really, really great project. And I'm really excited to continue working with DJI in the next year, over the next 12 months with some more projects coming up. And while I was in the Dolomites shooting for DJI, my management messaged me and asked if I was around to do a very quick turnaround for Samsung. Unrealistic turnaround, if I'm honest with you. They wanted VFX, they wanted it shot the next day, and they wanted the edit to be done within 24 hours. So there's a lot going on there. And I didn't even have the phone. So I was flying home the next day. I had a 7 a.m. flight, which meant I was home by about 9 a.m., which meant I could potentially shoot sunset/blue hour in the afternoon, then finish it by 6 or 7 p.m., edit it that night, and get it over to them by midnight, which was the deadline. Obviously incredibly unrealistic. I had a decent budget, and I thought, you know what, if I can push hard, this is a great way to finish off December and finish off the year with a pretty mad turnaround, pretty mad project, but I wanted to give it a go. So I ended up going and buying the Z Flip 6 at 10 a.m. By 12 o'clock, I was finishing the script. 2 o'clock, I met up with Alex to shoot it, which we shot on the Osmo Pocket 3 because we wanted it to be more like a phone. And the idea was to use those transitions where I needed a gimbal, and it would have got really confusing if we had done other stuff. So for simplicity, we did that. We then timelined it at my place. At 6:30, we then sent it over to a friend who is way quicker than any of us to put it into After Effects and just to spice it up a little bit to give it that extra bit of juice it needed, to then get it back from him at around 10 o'clock, for me to send it over to my management by midnight, for them to send it to the client. So we got it done. So a 24-hour turnaround is a bit mad, but it was also really fun to challenge myself and end the year on an incredible high. As everything started to slow down for Christmas, I started to work and build on plans for 2025. I'm just looking over some of the other projects from the year. I didn't even touch on YouTube videos, other passion projects and travel projects, other car campaigns, and loads of random shoots for other brands. I think it's really important to push yourself, but also know your limits. Tons coming up in 2025. If you haven't subscribed already, now's a great time. I really appreciate the support, so hit that subscribe button. Questions. Let me know any questions you have in the comments. This video is not only about sharing the year I had with you guys, but also educating. And I want to help you guys out, so make sure you drop a comment and I'll stop by and answer them. Big up for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next video very soon.